Hi guys, so today we will be making scrunchies like these ones, and they kind of look store-bought except this one is a little big, but the ones we will be making today are a little bit smaller. So for that you will need a safety pin, a needle and some thread, a 9-inch piece of elastic, and a piece of fabric that is 18 by 3.5 inches, approximately. So the first thing I'm going to do is hem one of the shorter sides, and I would use a matching color to the fabric. For this I'm using a contrasting color so that it shows up better on camera. But anyways, I am threading the needle with a nice long piece of thread, but not too long so that it gets tangled. And so how to hem is I fold over a little bit of the edge, and I am doing a back stitch for this to make it look nicer essentially. That's pretty much the only reason. And so how to do a back stitch is you do 2 stitches forward and 1 stitch back. And for this part I did the stitch backwards on the outside, and so the outside is the side that doesn't have the fold, so it looks like a seamless piece of fabric. And we're going to hem the entire side. And no, you do not have to hem the other side, but yeah, there is no buts. So now we watch me hem this entire side. You could also use your sewing machine to sew this. It would be a lot easier. Or you could do a running stitch, which is quicker. And if you don't know what a running stitch is, it is, I don't know, like the regular sewing where you insert the needle in and then out. You go like back and forth. So finish it off, and this is the reason why you want a nice long piece of thread, so you can finish this entire hem and still have enough thread to make a secure knot. So I am tying off the knots here, and there are multiple ways to tie off knots. So now face the outside downwards and then fold it in half. And then we are going to sew the 2 edges together. And I am going to use a running stitch for this, but first we want to reinforce the edges. So I like to do a couple of stitches back and forth right at the edge before we even start sewing the running stitch part. And the thread will get tangled, but that's okay. You can pull on one strand and then the other to take out the knot. So now, get it? We start the running stitch part. So like I said, insert your needle through and then back. And make sure your edges are lined up so you don't get a crooked looking scrunchie. Of course, it doesn't end up mattering too much, but you want to try your best to maintain a nice, clean, straight, rectangular shape. And so just continue to weave your needle in and out. There's nothing really interesting about this. And so scrunchies are really easy to make. This scrunchie only took me about half an hour to an hour. So it's a nice, quick, easy craft to whip up if you are bored. And it actually has a purpose instead of just laying in your room, although that's totally up to you. Not to mention, the materials are also really cheap. You can use an old hair tie, like cut up some old clothing, and you basically have all the materials. Just get some thread. So now I am almost done with the running stitch. I just have the very last bit to do. And I'm trying to make my stitches in a straight line. Basically just for the aestheticness of it, because you guys will be seeing it, and you don't really need an actually straight line because it'll end up getting scrunched anyways. So it's just preference what you want. And when you reach the end, you want to do the same thing that we did at the beginning. So you want to reinforce it a little by going back and forth a few times, because we will be end up turning this thing inside out, and when you turn it inside out, it puts a lot of strain on the ends. But if you reinforce it, it will be a lot less likely to rip and split. So now we will be turning this thing inside out using the safety pin. So fasten the safety pin onto one end of the tube and only on one side of the fabric, and then put the safety pin in, and you want to inch it towards the other side. And also, I am going to do this in a second, so you want to turn the ends inside so it is easier to pull it through when you finally pull the thing inside out. So turning this thing inside out is quite tricky. You will see me struggling, and it just takes a lot of patience and fiddling around. Also, make sure when you do this part that you don't lose hold of the safety pin, otherwise you won't be able to turn it inside out. And so I'm folding the end over outwards and then pulling the safety pin. And this is really hard because it's all scrunched up in a ball and you're trying to get it to pull inside out. But I just kept pulling on the end that was already folded over in attempt to make it go inside out. And so eventually this happens, and this is really satisfying when you do it for yourself. So unfasten the safety pin. We will still be using it, but now we will be using it to thread the elastic. So for the elastic, you can use a 1/4 inch elastic, which is what I am using, or you could use some elastic cord or a broken hair tie. If you are using the elastic cord or the broken hair tie though, you might have to do some sewing to reinforce it instead of just the knot, although the knot may work. And so inch it through the tube, but hold on to one end of the elastic because we will be tying the elastic to complete a circle. So once you have inched your elastic all the way through, hold on to both ends of the elastic, and we will be tying a knot this way, so wrapping them both around instead of doing the shoelace knotting thing. And this is because this knot is more secure, and when you pull on it, it will not come undone. So now just adjust the fabric around your scrunchie. And so now we will be using a ladder stitch to sew up the opening. So there is one unhemmed edge, so you want to tuck that edge inside the actually hemmed edge. So how to do a ladder stitch is you insert the needle close to the edge on one side of the fabric, and then you insert it through a small bit on the other side, like that, and then you pull it tight and go back to the original side and insert it through a little bit of fabric there. Like that, and when you pull it tight, it kind of disappears, which is the entire point. You could also do a whip stitch if you don't want to do a ladder stitch. The whip stitch will just be more visible than the ladder stitch. So you want to do the ladder stitch all the way around to secure the ends so your scrunchie does not come undone. And this can get a little awkward, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but you should line up the seams at the top of the scrunchie and start from there so that you don't end up twisting the tube any more than it already is. Although it doesn't really matter, so you can do whatever you'd like. Also, there will be step-by-step instructions for how to make a scrunchie on my website. And there will also be nice pictures so you don't have to watch me speed sewing. And if you ever wanted to know random facts that will not help you in any way, you can also check out my blog. The link to both the blog and the scrunchie instructions will be in the description. So I am finally done, and I will be tying a knot, a secure knot. And I like to stick my needle through and bring it out one of the ends, like that. Well, it's not one of the ends, it's kind of the middle. And with that, your scrunchie is done. So it is ready to be used. So thanks for watching this month's tutorial on scrunchie making. And I thought scrunchies would be really appropriate because it is summer and, I don't know, people want to put their hair up.